So if you guys do make changes on the offensive line, what are the challenges of doing it at this point in season after half a dozen games?
I think you just making sure, they're comfortable, obviously playing in a new position if they were, playing with the guys around them, the communication, all that stuff. That's probably the biggest thing, is just making sure everyone's on the same page.
John was telling us on Monday that, the Jets probably knew you guys had struggled with those stunts and twists. What needs to change there so teams don't keep doing that to you guys?
The biggest thing, I think, is the communication aspect. Guys just making sure we're switching it off. Anytime you have a looper, you're going into the penetrator and switching it off with your guy next to you. So it's just basically playing with each other as far as, just keep working on the twists, keep working on the games. There's a bunch of different patterns you can get. So it's just playing with good fundamentals and being violent when you react.
Where do you think Tunyon is right now, just in terms of getting back to where he was before the injury?
Yeah, it was great last week to get him more involved. I think every week he's improving. I can't really say he's, a certain percentage or anything like that, but you can just see it every single week. He goes out there and he just gets a little bit better, a little bit more explosive, a little bit more confident, so that's exciting to see.
And in that same vein, with David, do you kind of get the same sense in terms of him settling back in and, especially more of the reps he's been getting there at left tackle?
Yeah, no, he's definitely every week looked better, taken more reps, been out there. So it's good to see, he's making improvements every single week. Feels more comfortable moving. You can see him coming off the ball a little bit better, stronger at the point of attack every week. So it's encouraging.
Back to Rob's hypothetical offensive line question. What's the challenge of going midstream of moving guys right to left or left right? If any of those things has to happen. I realize you're rapid, but I also realize there's not a whole lot of time this time of year to do
Yeah, no, you kind of have to lean back to what you did in training camp and OTAs and stuff, and that's kind of why during that part of the year you play different guys at different positions so that, if something happens, whether it's through injury or whatever it may be, they have familiarity with that in playing different spots.
I don't know if I can talk, but I'm going to try. And hypothetically, obviously, if you're determining which side of the line to move someone to, is it always best to avoid moving multiple people if you can?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely want to, less is more in that aspect, as far as, the different pieces you have to move around. But at the same vein, you got to get your best 5 guys out there in their best spots. So that's just things you got to take into consideration when you're making those decisions.
When is it okay to break that less is more rule? Or is that matchup based? Is that guys work?
Yeah, there's a bunch of different factors. Let's say, their best D linemen's on one side or best 2 D linemen play on one side. This guy's better playing with this guy. There's all kinds of different factors that play into that decision, so I can't really just pinpoint one. But anytime you take a guy, you have your 5 starters, and you pull one guy out, you just like to plug in the next guy. But if you have to move more than one, then that's what you got to do.
Stenavich, this is not a hypothetical question. This is what did you do this week? So whatever your line is going to be, I understand you're not telling the Commanders. How does it work? Do you and Matt and Butkus get together on Tuesday and say, okay, this is how I think we should go, this is how we're going to rep it, or do you tinker with it a little bit throughout the 11-on-11 periods that we're not in there for? What's the process for figuring out what you're doing?
It's basically the first scenario. When you decide you want to make a change, you make the change and kind of stick with it, because it's not going to be perfect right away. You know what I mean? The first day of practice, if it doesn't look great, you can't just scrap it. You know what I mean? You got to say, all right, this is what we're doing, and give it a week, give it 2 weeks, and just make sure, that that's the right decision. So, you have to know you're making the right decision, and then just stick with it and see what happens.
The more Dave plays, I you should probably knock on wood when I say this, but this will be his 5th game in a row. He's practiced quite a bit of late. Do you get more and more comfortable that he's gonna be there and that all that other stuff is behind him?
Yeah, you definitely, just know that he has his process, and the biggest thing for him, and I'm sure he can tell you more about it, but is just him finding that groove of how much can I practice and feel my best on Sunday, you know what I mean? And then after I play, what's my knee gonna be like, and how can I practice the next week? So I think he's found his groove there, and he's in a good place with that. And so I definitely think, as we keep going, we should just see more and more positive things from that.
Given your expertise as an offensive line coach, have you spent more time with those guys? Did you personally go in there and talk to them about their performance?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm still in that room quite a bit. My time is split a little bit more, but yeah, that's always been my main focus is the offensive line room.
So you've had that situation, I mean, you remember the Tampa Bay game down there when, everything.
Oh, yes, I remember that.
You remember that. So you've had games like this. What have you typically tried to tell yourself after that, to just stay the course, or it's gonna work, or do you?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that people don't realize is when you play 17 games, rarely are you gonna play all 17 games your best. You'd like to believe that. You'd like to think, hey, we're going to come out and play our best every single week. Sometimes things go bad, and that's what happened last Sunday. But the best thing about we got great guys in that room and on our offense and on our team that work their butts off, are tough, and we had a bad day. Well, guess what? Pull your bootstraps up and let's get to work. And that's basically what we said. Guys know that wasn't the standard. They know what the standard is. We performed at a high level for a long time. So we just got to right the ship and get going.
Stone, after the playoff game, it took us a while before we got to talk to you, and when we asked you about the approach you took, I respect the hell out of you for saying, well, we made the decision and maybe it was the wrong one. I'm curious, when you look at the way you have repped Yash since the start of the offseason, you didn't know what was going to happen with Dave, I totally get it. But were you in a tough spot to get him more work on the right side? I mean, maybe some of those OTA practices we weren't at, he worked there, but.
Yeah, I think, you kind of had to live in the now, and also kind of see into the future as well, because you didn't really know what the situation was. But no, I feel good about where Yash is at, and I know he's feeling confident and, excited for him.
What about Elton? The standard he's played at has been so high for so long throughout his entire career, and then he has some blips, through this coming back from the ACL. Is that what you sort of credit it to, that he's still coming back from that?
Yeah, he definitely doesn't look like himself, or 100%, what he was before the injury. There's no doubt about that. He's played a lot of reps at tackle before he got hurt. So, you could kind of see him moving on the edge, and you knew what he was about. But at the same time, it's a process. It's going to be a process. And he's one of our leaders, especially in that offensive line room. And, I got all the faith that he's going to right the ship and do a great job.
You said you feel good about where Yash is at. I'm just trying to understand, what's delayed him going over to right tackle? Does he simply need more time there? Is it something that he struggles with, that position specifically? What's been the delay for that to occur?
As far as this year, or?
Yeah, this season. I know.
Well, it's been Dave's situation, mostly.
But he played, Dave played every snap this past week, and
Right.
rotating it. You put Jake Hansen onto the field for right guard, and he still stayed on the sideline. What is it on him to take right tackle and take off with that, or what's been the delay for that?
I think, kind of to answer the question earlier, was, do you feel more comfortable with Dave at left tackle now? Now that he's been going. And so every week it was kind of like, we'll see. Well, now the last 2 weeks, it's kind of been like, all right, he's kind of back in his groove now, so now we can kind of see what's gonna happen.